In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create in a horizontal bar chart an individual thickness for each bar based on its value. So let's start to look how we can do this in chart.js 4. So to do this, the first thing what we need to do here is to get a boiler template. To get a boiler template, you can go to chartjs3.com, getting started, and once you're on here, scroll down and copy this chunk of code, and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page, and of course, join the Discord channel for any questions. So let's start to first convert this into a horizontal bar chart. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then in the options, I'm going to say index axis, and then we're going to say here this will be equal to y, so we are swapping these two. There we are. Now what we want to do is create a plugin so we can measure the width of every one of those, or specifically the height in this case. So what I'm going to say here, after the options, we're going to say plugins. Then we're going to say here it's our horizontal bar width. Copy that, and then we're going to say a constant equals id this, and then we're going to say here before data sets draw. This is important. We need to do before and not after, or else the width of the bar will not be readjusted. So before we draw, we have to calculate the width, and then it will readjust itself, or it will then draw the right size. So what we need here is, first of all, an object destructure. We're going to say constant equals chart, and what do we want in here? I want a few things. The CTX, because I want to draw the canvas, and we probably want the data because I would like to access all these data points later on, because the width of our bar will depend on what is the highest value and what is the lowest, basically a relation to this. So once we have this, going down here, and then what we're going to say here, the first thing is, how can we access this crucial information? We need to do here console log. We're going to say a chart, and then do get data set meta, or get data set meta. There we are. And then in here, I'm going to say index 0 or data set 0. Once we have this, I'm going to save that, refresh, open up the developer tab, and then we can see here, we can see all this additional information, but the one I need is basically the positions of the bars. Because you can see here, we have the bar controller, and every bar element has certain information. And specifically here is the height relevant for us, because the height would define the height of the bar, which is probably 29 points. Well, this is the height. So what I want to say here, I want to get that height, 0.height, and what we could do to test this, just say instead of whatever it was, 29 plus pixels, we just assign for data set and data point 0 of 10 pixels. And as you can see here now, we have adjusted it. So what we can do now is we can readjust every one of these bars, but we need to have a formula for that. So let's start to work on that. We're going to say a constant, and then what I'm going to say here, height or bar height, maybe bar thickness would be the right term. Bar thickness will be equal to this. That's number one. Then what I want to do here is I want to grab the highest value from our data array, which in this case right now is the first one, but we need this information because the bar thickness here, this here, needs to be with the highest value, because the highest value equals the value of 1. This is important. So what I'm going to do here, constant, and let's get here the max. We say here max, and then we're going to say here math.max value, and then do a triple dot, which is the rest operator, and then we're going to just go into the array. This is necessary if you want to get the highest value from an array. So what I want to extract is this value here. So I'm going to say data dot data sets index 0, then dot data, and then we can say here, I guess like that, there's a dot, the highest value here, we're going to say it, I think like that. That's more than enough. Once we did this, we should get the value of 18. Let's see if we get that one. Save that, hide this console log, refresh, there we are. So we are getting the highest value if I make this one let's say 24, save, refresh. You can see here now it moves along nicely. This value becomes important now, because now what I want to do is I want to know in here the maximum value in which index number it would be. In this case it would be index 1, and this is 0, etc, etc. So I'm going to grab that now, and I'm going to use another method. So I'm going to say here constant index number, that's what I want to extract from the max. And we're going to say here, the data, we can just grab this in here, and I say dot index of, so search me or give me the value where this, well, based on whatever the value is, where in the array it is positioned. So once we did this, we should get here the index number of 1. There we are. And if I change this back to 9, save, is 0. So this is important, and I'll show you later on why. Because now I'm going to cut this and put that in here, and then I'm going to say here the index number is here. Alright. So once I did this, we can now start to readjust the height of every bar. To do that, I'm just going to use the chart get data set meta, this built-in functionality, and then what we can say here is make it a for each loop, and then I'm going to say here data point index function arrow expression, because it's a callback functionality, and then in here I want to recalculate the new bar thickness. So I say constant new bar thickness will be equal to whatever is the bar thickness divide by the max value, in this case it's 18, and then multiply by whatever the data value is. And the data value for us would be based on the index number, and to get that we're just going to grab this, put it in here in the array, and then say here index. Once we did this, I want to then assign this height with a new height, and the new height would be the new, or sorry, well, that's the height, but it's the bar thickness that we want to reassign. Once I did this, oh, not like that, but I want to make sure that this here is semicolon. We can delete this, save, refresh. Oh, alright, interesting. We're getting something, and I have to check what's going on. So we have the index number here of the bar thickness. Alright, that should all work. So where is the issue here? Alright, as you can see here, this should not be like that. Should get the index as well, or I realized we could even make it shorter by saying data point dot height. Let's save that, refresh. There we are. That's more practical. So as you can see here, now this changes. So the reason why you cannot hard code, or you cannot use here 0, because all these bars would have in the beginning the same thickness, but eventually it will recalculate. And let me just show you. We get the same weird effect as what we had as well, or surprisingly for now not, because the highest value is considered the first one. If I make this number 1, you will see we get a very weird response. So if I make this 10, let's see if we can see the thickness getting smaller and smaller. You see the bars becoming very narrow. So this is the reason why we need to get here the index number. And then if I save that, refresh, there we are, everything works, and it knows now the highest value is 12 Friday, and it will recalculate everything nicely. And that's it.